What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? And we are, well, first off, welcome to today's video. Wanted to give you all a little sneak peek of what's going on with the silver car, because as you can see, it has moved. So, the buddy Jacob Cartmill came up and welded a -6 1/4 MPT fitting to the top of my old school Weber top cap. So if it'll focus, without me blocking the light out, you can see right there it says 50 DCO. Well, the top cap is hand stamped to match your body, the body of the carburetor, so had to have the right one, so we had to fix it. So it's working good. I got another fuel pressure regulator on there. That's basically just a gauge now. The Holly one, I'm using that inline regulator. We got this thing idling okay, but I need to pull, and I apologize, I'm trying out this new headlight thing while I'm working outside. Anyways, let's just get to the shop. Alright, so we're in the shop. I was trying out this new little headlight thing, Milwaukee, little tiny guy. Most of the time, headlights, I like to wear hats and they're just in the way, and I can't really find a good one that clips onto my bill. So if you have one, link it below. Anyways, the silver car, I got it idling. It's a pain to start, and I don't know entirely why. It's not the motor, because it's just not getting fuel. If I pump the throttle up real good, it starts. So I'm going to get some idle jets coming, and I'm going to pull the jets back out whenever I walk over to the house. On the Weber, it's super easy. But that'll be coming in a future video, just kind of the tuning. I got to get, I've got a big Innovate wideband like this, the handheld unit. I'll put on that, and then we'll just go right to town tuning that car. So what you're here for, though, is we're tearing this motor down. And by tearing it down, I mean all the way down. So if you saw in the last video with the T2, we pulled this motor out of the car, and it's got a cracked iron. So you're like, well, what the heck? You put it back together. Yes and no. I put 3 tension bolts in it, just so I could put the rear iron on it. Basically, I didn't want any of the rotor seals to fall off, so the corners and the side seals or anything, so I was able to keep those in place. I just put this on for now. I'm going to put it back on the stand because I had to stack that 12A up and pull this one actually all the way apart. And now that my trays are clean and empty, so my rotor trays, thank you to Charles for making these however many years ago. He had a few extra sets laying around, so he let me borrow one. But basically, how these trays work, if you've seen them, you have the front and the rear of the rotor for your oil control rings. I number all my side seals here, and then apex seals 1, 2, 3. And then this is the rear rotor, and then there's one down there for the front rotor. So I got all those cleaned out now because I was building that. Now I got to tear this one all the way apart. Long-winded answer to a short thing. I'm just going to take it apart. So I got to pop this thing up on the stand, like I just said, and start tearing into it. Also, you might ask, why does a man who can lift a rotary engine need an engine stand to put it on the engine, or need an engine hoist to put it on the stand? Well, I like the condition of my back. Also, life hack number 2, 1,700, weld a wrench to the little thing on here, so you don't have to take this guy and jank with it to get it to go. Just put a wrench on there. Alright y'all, prime example right here. Just took that out. See that down there? Missing a corner. Super easy to drop them in there. So I'm going to fish that out before I lose it, because I want to make sure it goes back in the exact same spot in order to ensure maximum compressions. Oh man, the old magnet spends too much time near the grinder, if you know what I mean. Please be small enough. Hell yeah. Right there. See that corner? Taken engines apart and found corners like this just buried in the engine. So be aware when you have people build engines for you, that they may not do it right. Or they might leave presents for you. Or presents for your water pump to suck up. Alright, so this is the rear rotor. So we've got rear, front, rear. This is the rear of the rear rotor. So on the rear rotor, the gear faces the back, and on the front rotor, the gear faces the front. Fun fact. So I'm going to set my tray out here, just like this. And like I said in the previous video, this isn't the letter A, okay? So this right here is number 1. Okay, so this is the number 1 apex seal in the number 1 corner. So this is going to go right here. 1. To the corner, I'm going to put it in the same spot. Boom, same thing. We'll go all the way around. These side seals in here until I have to put this back together. For the reason being is that if I can keep them in place and just take one out at a time, check it, make sure it's clean, wipe the rotor off, put it back in. Move to the next side seal. Do the same thing all the way around. I won't get them mixed up, because keeping these clearances matched up is very important to compression. So you want to make sure your side seal clearance is very good. So you can kind of see on this motor with just how much is coming through here, the soot that we're bleeding a little bit of blow by. See right there? Getting a little bit of blow by through there. So the side seal clearances could be a little tighter. Cool. Alright, well I'm going to continue tearing the rest of this down exactly how I just did that one. So y'all might have just wondered, what the heck did I wrap around the rotor? Well, if you take the outer coolant seal, it's fairly stretchy. Normally the inner ones are a little more stiff. So take the outer coolant seal, flip it twice, and use it like a rubber band. You can hold all the apex seals in place while you flip the rotor up. Because if I flip the rotor up like that, they're all going to fall out because they're spring loaded, right? I was lucky to keep them all in the same place when I pulled the housing out just by going slow. But that kept the rotors, or the apex seals, in place such that I could look on the gear side of the rotor, see where the balance letter is, and then start my 1, 2, 3. So I knew where each apex seal went on the rotor, and then I could keep the apex seal and this little corner together. The main reason you want to do that, especially if you're going to reuse parts, is the apex seal and that corner both start out at the same height. As the motor runs, they're going to wear. Each one, so like the corner is cut from the one piece of the apex seal when they make the apex seal. So they will wear at the same rate. If you mix and match, the corners might be taller or shorter than the actual apex seal itself. So you want to make sure they go back with the right piece. You can use one piece apex seals, which looks something like this. So like this is a one piece apex seal. You see from spring to spring is one bit, and the two-piece apex seal would look like this, where you have a corner missing, and that's so that you can build it and also for heat expansion, because this will grow and shrink as the motor runs. Fun stuff. So I'm going to set this rotor down in there. I got all the proper seals out of it, left all the side seals and springs in there, and we're just going to take this thing over here. If you haven't seen my awesome medical filing cabinet before, I scored this from work. It's just a flat file, lap file, whatever you want to call it. So you put files in here. Super well built, super strong. Works great for storing rotary engine parts like this. So that's all the other motor parts, the front end accessories. This is everything that I needed whenever I took it out of this car, so I can keep everything in one place, organized and neat. So I'll lay my E-shaft in there, which I just have sitting over here. And then unfortunately my rotor trays don't fit in there, but these normally, I only have one set of stuff in these at a time, so you generally know exactly where things are going based on the labels and stuff. So let's put all this stuff away. Alright, so one of the big reasons I'm going to put this in the video is just so that I don't forget. But on the front rotor housing, I'm going to take out the leading plug. Oh, Jesus, who put these things in here? Lord have mercy. Alright, so on the front rotor housing, I'm going to take out the leading plug, and I'm going to leave both the plugs in the rear rotor housing. I also wrote front and rear on both of them, but just in case I forget or it gets cleaned off and painted over or something dumb, the front rotor housing has one plug in it. Note that. Alright guys, so probably one of the other reasons you're checking this video out. Alright guys, so the ports, right? We got the engine torn down. The whole reason for tearing it apart, besides the cracked rear iron, is that we want to do a half Bridgeport. So what does a half Bridgeport entail? Well, half of a bridge basically would be like a short bridge or like no bridge. But what a real half Bridgeport is to me is you have 4 ports in the engine, right? So if you Bridgeport half of them, that's a half Bridgeport. Now, you might ask, well, which 2? So your primary ports, which is basically like what you drive around on, we'll say 80% of the time if you have a street car and 20% of the time if you're pinned. So your primary ports are the small ones in the center iron right here. Right there, which my lighting is terrible over here. Let's readjust. Okay, this is your primary port. It's in the center iron right here. They're pretty short. This is your drivability, right? This is your low end, your partial throttle, all that. This is what you're driving on. Now, when you give it the full kill tilt, you're on your secondary ports, which are out here. So, in order to keep a good balance of drivability, you leave these just like a good street port, basically just like clean them up, make them look nice and smooth, etc. And then you take these and you do the big bridge and port it out. So, the templates that I have available to me are the Race and Beat Bridgeport template. So, how this works is you have this piece of metal here and you lock it in with the dowels. Now you can see this gives you the template as far as how far to remove up here and smooth in, and then where to put the bridge right here. So basically this is the rear iron that's cracked. Let me grab my Bridgeport irons if I can get them out in an efficient manner, because I'm pretty sure that mine are also the Race and Beat. Oh man, this is way heavier than that one. So this is an R5 12A plate, and you can see the bridge that we've got going on here, right? So it's very important not to get into the water jacket. Okay, so back around this corner, you can see why this is rounded like that is because back there you don't want to get into the water jacket. Man, that thing is bright. So you can see down in there how the water jacket is cast around the port. You don't want to touch that. You touch that, iron is roached. Can't use it. So that's kind of how that one looks. Now, let's just go ahead and take this template and put it over here. Oh, the stationary is in the way. No worries, we'll put it on over the stationary gear. And this really isn't wanting to be cool here. There we go. Alright, so if you look straight down, you can kind of see that that kind of follows the template of the Race and Beat one. Okay, so this is where this gets real important. Now on this iron, the Turbo 2 iron, you can see that the casting is much taller. You know, gets up there pretty much above the port. I mean, you don't you don't really have to worry too much on this one. But, so, I've never ported a rotary engine before. I've ported cylinder heads on dirt bikes. Like, I was big into the two-stroke dirt bikes back in the day when I used to race bikes, and did my fair share of wallering out the intake and exhaust ports on my old CR125 cylinders and my YZ85 and stuff like that. You know, so that's no big deal. That stuff's aluminum. It goes pretty quick. You really don't you don't just chop out a whole bunch of stuff. You kind of don't. You have to worry a little bit about getting into things, but you look at pictures, you see how thin it is. You just science it up, give it heck, make it flow a little better, smooth everything out. So on these, this is a new ball game to me. So I'm going to use, I have some old 12A stuff, some junk irons over there, and I have this Turbo 2 iron. And my goal is to I'm going to port one of these 12A irons with this Bridgeport template and be mindful of the coolant jacket like this, how this one's smoothed in. Kind of use this one that I have done already that somebody else did as a template. Then before I do Nick's motor, I'm going to try it on his rear iron here, the broken one, and practice this Bridgeport, because I just really don't want to F up the new one. So I'm going to do this, and once we're good here, and that'd be 3 practice tries with all the information. I haven't seen all the pictures and stuff, and steel goes a little slower, so it would be harder to really mess it up. Then I'm going to go ahead and try to port this myself. So, alright y'all, so thanks for watching this video. I'm going to give you a couple little sneak peeks on the next stuff that's happening, just because I've got a lot of stuff that I'm doing this week, and just kind of want to get you guys, I'm going to give you a sneak peek on what's happening this week on the Rad Ranch, at the Rad Ranch, because I'm kind of going to have a couple of these informational videos shoved in here just to fill some time, because I'm basically doing work on an engine. I'm porting this engine, and that takes time, and you don't want to see 10 minutes of me just porting. So basically, you see I'm all dirty. So here's the front iron. I got it all marked up. You can see the bridge drawn in there. It's 2 mils away from the coolant seal, so should leave plenty of room. This is kind of the one I was using as a template, which you guys saw. Also, to update you, Nick bought a brand new rear iron. So this is the thick dowel iron. Came with a coolant sensor, which is awesome. But I just got it painted so I can scribe in the ports. Basically, I'm not an aficionado at doing this whole porting thing, but this was my first go. So I'm doing a bridge. So you can see there, I think it came out really good. I got all my edges nice and straight. I got plenty of room between the coolant seal and the bridge itself, and this bridge is plenty thick, and then it's kind of like tapered in, so the air coming out doesn't have to make a 90-degree corner. It kind of swoops in. So, and then I just extended this one just a tad to match that Racing Beat template, which I just showed you a little bit ago. So you can see here. But combination, I got some new carbide bits in. Been using some stones. Been using some baby stones, you know. But basically, right now I'm gonna cut over to the house and show you something super cool. All right, so we're back at the house. When I had the vert, I had ordered a turbo and to put on the vert. But now that the vert's gone, I changed the order up a little bit and still ordered the turbo. But this right here is the new spoolie boy at the Rad Ranch. So this is for a project coming up on the YouTube channel. No, it's not a customer car. This is a car for me. And this right here is a B&R S2 upgraded like cold side. It's a Series 4, so the wastegate's ported. It's got a brand new CHRA, which is the center housing and rotating assembly. It's got fancier wheels in it than the stock wheels for the S4 Turbo. Brand new wastegate. Basically, this is a pretty sick piece. The whole goal with the turbo is to make full boost really quick. So if you've ever driven like a stock S5 turbo car, They generally spool up real quick, and then they kind of peak and don't carry a lot of boost on the top end. And they're good for like 300 wheel, a little bit more. So this one should make around 320 to 330 wheel at 17 pounds of boost, and it should come on at like 33,000 RPM, basically 3,000 RPM, not 33,000. And this is gonna go on an S4 turbo 2 block in a first gen, and it's gonna be a ripper, and we're gonna turn the thing up. So this is one of the new bits. Pretty stoked to see the big inlet. Still maintains the twin scroll over here, which you can't see because of the shadow, but it is a Series 4 exhaust housing, so it's got the smaller wastegate and the one side of the exhaust port's bigger than the other. So fun fact, cool stuff. But with that, I'm gonna try to keep the uploads as frequent as I can. Just with doing this porting stuff, and you guys know, working a day job and coming home and doing this, it's a lot of time, and normally I'm able to generate a good amount of content. So hopefully this week we can still get some stuff out for you. I have some stuff filmed back in the past that I've kind of just been sitting on, so we'll start uploading that. So stay tuned. The FC motor is going together this week, hoping for Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll have the porting finished up tomorrow, and then that video will drop into the week, and hoping to get that thing fired up and back to Nick this weekend. So thanks for watching. Keep it rad.